Inside the adult listening to this video, there is still a small child, innocent, who never learned to hide. That child does not appear to haunt you. It is simply waiting to be seen. It learned to turn wounds into personality just to be loved, to feel safe, to avoid abandonment. Those invisible wounds quietly built survival strategies. A child had no other choice in a house with adults, in moments when there was simply no other option. And today we will remove that mask together for the first time. We will name 12 invisible childhood wounds, the armor that still holds your inner child captive. Type 1. The abandoned child. The panic wave when silence arrives. Not every abandonment is loud. Sometimes it is terrifyingly quiet. Parents sit at the dinner table, but their eyes stay on the phone. Birthdays no one remembers. The repeated phrase, "Mom and Dad are busy," until the child stops asking, because it already understands. It is not important enough for anyone to pause. Now, when someone you love does not reply for a few hours, an old panic rises in your chest. Your body refuses to believe the excuse, "They are busy." It only remembers the old lesson. People leave without warning. Research by Fraley and colleagues in 2025, published in Scientific American, followed thousands of people from infancy to adulthood. Early attachment experiences create lasting attachment anxiety. It shows up as fear of abandonment and constant need for reassurance in intimate relationships. You are not overly sensitive. Your nervous system is still performing its old job. It keeps watch for loss before it happens. Back then, early warning was the only way to avoid sudden pain. Type 2. The invisible child. The dark corner of the room no one notices. You were never hit. You were not yelled at much. You were simply not seen. Your words fell into empty space. Your feelings never made anyone stop. Your presence changed nothing in the room. So you learned to become background. No color, no sound, no space. Because choosing to disappear first hurt less than waiting to be ignored. Now in a group, you sit on the edge. Not because you dislike people, but because part of you is used to standing in the not important enough to notice position. You withdraw before anyone can overlook you, as if disappearing on your own hurts less than waiting for others to do it. Type 3. The approval seeker. Love only exists when you become what others want. Love in your home was conditional. High scores brought praise. Good behavior brought hugs. Meeting expectations made you feel real. The smart child reached the logical conclusion. To be loved, you must become what others want to see. Now you change yourself every day, for every person and every expectation. One compliment can make your whole day bright. One indifferent look can keep you thinking all night. You were not weak. You were simply using other people's clocks to measure your own time. Research by Heron Cole and colleagues in 2012 shows that children in emotionally distracted environments develop over-reliance on external validation. Their self-worth becomes tied to others' reactions instead of inner stability. The hardest question for you is this: if no one looks at you tomorrow, will you still know who you are? Type 4. The people pleaser. The forced smile traded for safety. Conflict at home was never safe. Not always shouting or violence. Sometimes just cold silence that lasted for days. Long enough for the child to learn that saying the wrong thing meant losing love. So you learn to read faces like weather reports. They frown, you adjust. They feel sad, you become what they need. They stay silent, you wonder what you did wrong. Now you say, "It's fine," while your whole body wants to say, "No." You apologize before you even check if you were wrong. You stay in exhausting conversations just so the other person does not feel uncared for. That is not kindness. It is a survival reflex called the fawn response. A child uses it when fight, flight, or freeze are not possible. Pete Walker, in his 2013 book, Complex PTSD, explains that people-pleasing is not goodness. It is the fourth survival response. The child becomes what the harmful person wants in order to avoid danger. Type 5. The child who carried the family. You are not allowed to be a child long enough. Maybe your parents needed you to listen to their problems. Maybe you mediated every family storm. Maybe you cared for younger siblings, cooked meals, and kept the family from breaking while no one ever asked how you felt. People call it early maturity, but no child naturally grows up early. They only learn to carry what is not theirs because no one else will. Now you find it hard to sit still without doing something. Rest feels like guilt. Asking for help feels like weakness. You stay in the strong one role not because you want to, but because you do not know you are allowed to be weak. Type 6, the achiever, running forever to feel worthy of love. Love in your home appeared only when you achieved something. So you ran, not out of passion, but because stopping meant you no longer deserved love. Now every achievement gives you only a few hours of feeling enough. Then the emptiness returns. You do more. You achieve more. But enough keeps moving farther away. What you are really searching for is unconditional love, the kind you should have received from the beginning. Type 7, the extreme self-reliant, the steel wall built around a lonely heart. You needed help. You were refused. Enough times for your brain to conclude that asking is risky, needing others is weak, and being alone is safest. Now when someone offers help, something tightens in your chest. Not gratitude, but suspicion. What do they want? And anxiety. If I accept, I will owe them. I will depend on them. I will get hurt. You do everything alone. You fall apart alone. You recover alone. And you call it independence. But there is a thin line between self-reliance and armored loneliness. Type 8, the child forced to stay silent. Emotions buried so deep, even you forgot them. You cried and were told, stop. You got angry and were punished. You spoke the truth and were mocked. What does a child know? The child did not learn emotions are wrong. It learned something worse. Its emotions have no place in this world, so it swallowed the words. It stored the feelings so deep that later even it could not find them. Now, when you need to say something important, you feel it heavy and tight in your chest, but your mouth stays closed. Only after the conversation do you find the right words, then swallow them alone. Research by Taylor and colleagues in 2023 shows childhood trauma leads to long-term expressive suppression. People hide emotions even in safe environments. This severely damages the ability to form closeness in relationships. You are not cold. You are not distant. Your body simply learned that silence is the first reflex, even before you know what you want to say. Type 9, the loyal child. Enduring is called love. Sacrificing is called maturity. You were taught that enduring is a virtue, that love means sacrifice, that not complaining means being a real adult. You believed it so deeply that now you cannot tell the difference between choosing to endure and not knowing you have the right to stop. You stay in relationships that drain you and call it patience. You tolerate what you should not and call it maturity. You set no boundaries and call it generosity. Type 10, the lost child. The empty space where desires were abandoned. You wanted something and were refused. You needed something and were ignored. Enough times for the child to learn that wanting only leads to disappointment. So it stopped wanting. It made its needs so small that finally even it could no longer feel them. Now when someone asks, "What do you want?" you answer, "Anything is fine." Not because you are easygoing, but because inside you there is an empty space where desires should have been. They were abandoned long ago. Neuropsychologist Alan Shore at UCLA calls this alexithymia, the inability to find words for feelings. It forms when caregivers' emotional neglect disrupts right brain development. The child gradually loses the ability to recognize even its own emotions. Anything is fine is not calm. It is the echo of a child who stopped believing its desires matter, and no one ever proved otherwise. Type 11, the emotional carrier, a heart that carries the pain of the whole world. In your home, there was an invisible responsibility no one gave you, but you picked it up anyway. You automatically carried everyone's emotions. Parents argued, you stepped in to fix it. A relative felt sad. You felt it was your job to repair it. Someone seemed upset. You quickly scanned what you did wrong. Now, even if someone's sadness has nothing to do with you, you still feel guilty. You carry other people's feelings as if they were your own. Not because you want to, but because that was the only way you ever learned to feel valuable. Type 12, the vigilant child. A nervous system always waiting for the next storm. Your home was not always dangerous, but it was never safe enough for you to fully relax. The atmosphere could shift in a second. A parent could be happy one moment and furious the next with no warning. So you learned to read signals before they appeared. You scanned every room before entering. You read tone, facial expressions, and silence. You stayed ready. Now, even when everything is truly fine, your body still waits for something to break. You struggle to sleep deeply because even in sleep you stay alert. You find it hard to believe current peace is real, because your experience taught you that peace is only the quiet before the storm. A 2023 meta-analysis in neuroscience and biobehavioral reviews from over 50 studies concludes that childhood trauma alters connections between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. It creates hypervigilance even in completely non-threatening situations. The brain is reset to default alert mode, not because you worry too much, but because your nervous system is doing exactly what it was trained to do during those childhood years. And that is exactly why, even when everything around you is completely peaceful, your nervous system still never stops keeping watch. That is the real, deep reason why your anxiety is not irrational at all. You are not worrying for no reason. Your nervous system is still protecting the child. Your nervous system is protecting you from a danger it has not yet learned is over. 12 types. 12 different ways a child learned to survive. You may recognize yourself in more than one, because wounds are rarely single, and the smart child always learns multiple strategies. All of this anxiety, silence, people-pleasing, and extreme self-reliance is not your born personality. It is the survival role a child had to play to stay safe. Modern psychology shows a child does not need perfect parents. It only needs to feel safe enough to be itself. When that safety is missing, the child's brain does what every brain is designed to do. It adapts. But adaptation is not healing. Adaptation is putting on another layer of armor. You carry that armor from the old house into every relationship, every conversation, every quiet adult moment where no one threatens you anymore, but your body still does not know it. The cruelest paradox. What once saved you now holds you prisoner. This is the hardest paradox few people say out loud. What once saved you now imprisons you. The silence that once kept you safe now stops you from being heard. The people-pleasing that once kept peace now erases you from your own life. The self-reliance that once protected you now becomes a prison that lets no one in and you out. But here's the good news. This armor is not you. It is only what you had to wear to survive. And today, you are big enough to start taking it off, piece by piece, with the compassion and patience the child back then deserved. You are not broken. You are only carrying unnamed wounds. The first step to healing is daring to look at them, daring to name them, daring to tell the child inside, I see you. I know you tried so hard, and from now on, you do not have to do it all alone. Are you ready to begin? If this video touched something in you, leave a comment below. No long explanation needed, just a number of the type you recognized in yourself. That may be the first time you truly see yourself.